Alright guys, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the Filament Pelletizer. So this machine is used for filament only. It can be used with commercial filament or recycled filament. Oftentimes I use it with recycled filament if my recycled filament doesn't come out with a very nice consistent diameter or the filament has a terrible quality. I'll often refeed it through this pelletizer so that I can get nice homogeneous pellets and then re-extrude those pellets into a much nicer filament. That's the main purpose for this device here, and it's really simple to use. The unfortunate thing is that it only accepts filament. So here's some of the recycled filament that we've previously made. I just want to show you some of the poor quality here. So you can see there's a little bend in there. There's some little, especially here you can see there's huge diameter. It looks kind of gross, and it's not very consistent. So this will not be printed in a 3D printer. So what we do, like I said, is we'll run it through this pelletizer, and it'll end up giving us much more homogeneous pellets to re-extrude. And when we re-extrude, since these are much more homogeneous, we get a much better diameter and a much better consistent filament, which we can finally 3D print. So there's only 4 buttons on this machine, one on the back, which is the power source. So now you can hear the fan is running. And then we have a start and stop button, a safety reset button, and then the speed control of the fan on the inside, which controls how fast it's going to cut the filament, which controls the size of your pellets, basically. So once you've turned on the machine, the first thing you always have to do is hit the safety reset button, which is this white button. So once I hit this, you're going to hear a little nudge in the machine. Right there. So now everything's ready to go. The fan is still not on, but it can be when you press start. So the other thing is I have this little bag under the fan. So this is where the pellets are going to get deposited out of. So I basically tie this bag up, that way all the pellets are in this bag rather than on the floor. So here I'm gonna start unspooling some of this filament, and I can press start as well on the fan here. And as I increase the speed, you can hear it louder and quieter. So I like to keep the speed straight vertical directly in the middle, so it's like medium speed. And then here we go. So the little filament hole here, the max diameter it can accept is 3.5 millimeters, so you don't want to go above that or else it'll clog. And you basically just start shoving the filament in, and the fan in there is just shredding the filament into tiny little pieces. Oftentimes when I do this, it's nice to have 2 people or to set it on a spool. That way it's just constantly moving and you don't have to keep readjusting. But for now, I'll just do it myself just like this. It's usually not that hard to feed in. It's just since this diameter of the filament is so small, it's a little bit harder for me right now. And so when I'm doing this, I usually try and keep a consistent speed. That way all the pellets are about the same size. Because when you're feeding it in at different speeds, you're gonna have different size pellets. And also never change the speed while you're creating the pellets, because you don't wanna change the size, just like I mentioned. So now that I'm done pelletizing, I'm gonna hit the stop button to stop the blades. And then I will untie my bag, which is just loosely tied around with this little copper wire. And now if we look at the pellets in the bag, you can see they're much more homogeneous. And I can pour them out on a plate. Oops. here's just a few pellets, but you can see they're much more uniform than from the actual grinder itself. And you can see there's different sizes, but that's because I was doing it by myself. If you have it attached to a spooler and you're consistently running it through, you'll get very consistent pellets, which is much better for homogeneous filament making. And then once you're done and you've got all the pellets you want, all you have to do is just make sure that the fan is stopped, which you should have already done, and then hit the power button. And then you're good to go.